one of the first things that we talk about is identity, because you need to know who you are and whose you are, especially when your identity is as a wife or a husband and now it isn't. Mine definitely was in being a wife. I was a wife for 25 years. It was important to me. I valued it. I was a good wife. I have a book about it, and it was taken away from me in a moment, and I lost who I was. And my kids were going off to college at the time, so your role as a mom is changing, and empty nester. And we went from a family of 4, which we always had students live with us who were going to seminary, and so we went from a family of 5 down to just me and my daughter for a year, and then she was gone. So just identity was really important for people to understand that things in the world can be gone in a moment. So any title, the car you drive, the purse you carry, whatever, none of that matters. It's how God sees you and knowing who you are. And then we get into forgiveness, because that, I wish I could say I did that first. That was actually the last part of my healing, but I talked to my clients about it, up front. And so we cover that. Renewing your mind, because so many people get stuck in the past. They just keep retelling that sad story over, that unjust story over and over and over. So we need them to renew their minds daily and get them present. We talk about purpose, because you might need to find it again or find it anew. Self-love, because so many people have self-loathing after divorce, whether they just think they're unlovable, they're, obviously they're older, so maybe their bodies don't look the same, they're nervous about dating, and, just, again, what's inside you is what comes out of you. So if you're not filling yourself with love, you're not going to have love to give. Gratitude is another one. That is a huge superpower.
Yes.
I every day write out gratitude, and I just go throughout my day looking for things to be grateful for, and it just gets that flow of things coming to you because you're so grateful of things.
Hey, yo, welcome to the Godcast.
The Lord told me to tell you, wake up, wake up, wake up.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
Was there an awakening moment?
So this is like an all-encompassing awakening.
It's all-encompassing.
Every day, as they would creep in, I would just have to stop and catch myself right in those moments and say, God, I trust you. I'm not going to be afraid. I'm giving you my fear.
And I also came to the understanding of what you're saying, what you can't have light without dark. But then I started having the thought of, well, if we didn't have nighttime and we didn't have the winter, then plants would never stop growing. So if we never had issues, then we would only grow more. The thing with me, I never got into the astrology stuff. I never got into really doing any kind of energy work until I was very firm with Jesus. And it's a thing with me and Jesus where like people are praying and I'll get the sudden urge to tell that person to give your burdens to Jesus, and they'll say like, oh, I was just trying to talk to Jesus.
Welcome to Godcast,
the Goodness Over Darkness podcast.
Here's your host, Emmanuel Kingman.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Godcast, the Goodness Over Darkness podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Kingman, and I am solo again for this intro and interview. Mimi still cannot be here, so we would kindly ask for your prayers at this time. They would be greatly needed and appreciated, and thank you for everybody that did send their love and prayers already. On today's episode, we had on special guest Kelli Calabrese, and wow, she knocked it out of the park completely. I mean, she has so many certifications, 27 certifications, 3 science degrees. She's been a fitness instructor, at least that, for 34 years, and just so many different things. She is a Christian counselor. She is a divorce counselor, certified divorce counselor, certified Christian counselor. I mean, just so many different aspects. She is helping everywhere. We had a great conversation about Christ, doing Christ's mission of showing Jesus Christ is real by our actions. And it's not, this isn't self praise or anything. This is just a factual statement that she is doing really incredible things. We talked about she had a very traumatic divorce, the way that it happened, and she opened up about some of that. We got into some health and fitness stuff. We got into some relationship stuff of why divorce occurs, how we can avoid divorce, why it isn't a route that you necessarily want to take. Uh, and then I told her some of my story as well, and it was just a really great conversation back and forth. Uh, I think this was a really enjoyable conversation. I can't wait to listen back myself. I really enjoy the conversations when I can talk to people about Christ, and not that I don't listen back to all of them. Of course I do, and I love listening to all of them. But the ones where I connect with someone about Jesus and about being Christ-like, those are my favorite. I mean, hands down. That I talk about Jesus everywhere. I spread the word and message of Jesus everywhere I go. In my actions, I try to embody him, and I try to be loving and understanding and compassionate and do all things in the name of Christ. So when I can have someone come on and they're doing all those things and we can chat about that, it's really amazing, especially a female. And, I can see auras kind of are coming through sometimes when I talk to people, and it's not, at first, it was just on the computer, and I thought it was maybe the lighting, so I never really said anything, but it's been happening in my regular life, like right in front of my face. I'm starting to see people as when they have Christ coming through them. I really see it. I was at a funeral the other day, and the pastor, a female, she started talking about Christ, and then she was singing a song that she created, she wrote, and she was just saying the phrase, like the chorus of it. She said it several times, and then all of a sudden, boom! I see this aura come over her, and it's like, oh wow! Like it was like almost like she called Christ in her. It was incredible, and I saw Jesus coming through Kelli today in a big way as well. I was looking at the camera most of the time because it's when I'm trying to connect with somebody, with a guest, when I'm trying to connect with the audience, I want to be looking at the camera. But my camera isn't on my screen, so I'm trying to watch them. So I didn't get a chance to look at the screen often because I was looking at the camera. But it's this thing just happens where I literally start to see Christ coming through them. And it's not that it's over top of their body, and it's not that it's necessarily in their body, but I want to equate it to quantum physics. And quantum physics says everything is rendering, right? Everything is moving, rendering, until we observe it, and then it becomes physical. Well, the soul, or I guess the spirit of Christ, and our soul are just, they're never stationary. We just see the physical rendering of our bodies that overlays. I don't say overlay is not the right word, because it's as if the body is all of a sudden vibrating again. It's moving. It's a wave. It's not a particle. It's a wave. And when I see Christ coming through people, that's what say. I keep saying it because I don't have another way to describe it. It's not coming through. It's like they're just swaying. Their facial structures swaying, and I see Jesus' smile. I see Jesus everywhere. It's so incredible. So anyway, Kelli definitely has Christ coming through her in a major way. Her life is completely by divine design. I mean, just going on the journey she went on of learning everything she learned in order to teach people what she now teaches them, to resonate with them. And it's a whole, I mean, we talk about holistic approach. I try to take a holistic approach and understanding many things on many levels and teach people many different things, weight loss and drug addiction and Christ and all that. She's doing what I'm doing on such a more grand scale with all her certifications and understandings. And it's just really, uh, I mean, this episode is going to be greatly beneficial to so many people. So, I think I'm going to end the intro here because there's really no sense in me going on about the conversation. Just you'll enjoy it yourself. So, make sure you go check out all Kelli's stuff. I have it all in the description. Check out her Facebook uh, group that she has on there, Intentionally Fabulous. That's something. If you're struggling, if you're a woman who's struggling at the moment, well, not just a woman but anybody, but particularly women who are struggling at the moment, going through a divorce or being lonely and you need some community, I really suggest that you go check out this Facebook group because you're going to benefit from it for sure. Especially if you're listening to my podcast and you're a single woman, you know, that you're obviously here, you're a woman of Christ, and you'll definitely have some great, great community to be in if you join up in that group. So make sure you go check out all Kelli's stuff. Go to my website, emmanuelkingman.com. You can look at my mentorship programs with spiritual baptism. You can look at all my photos from different trips that Mimi and I have been on. You can look at all the beings that have visited me in the clouds that are, I mean, they're complete faces of people and different types of um, facial structures that I just say are beings because some of them look like cats, some of them look like dogs. Excuse me, but I'm not. I don't know what it is, so I just say that they're beings. But you can check out all that stuff. And I made a funny promotional video yesterday, two of them actually, that I put out on my social media. I'll be putting that on my YouTube probably before this comes out. So they're two less than a minute videos. I'll probably put them up on my website soon as well. So they're funny little things that let me know what you think of them. I think it's funny anyway. And that is what I was making that actually I talk about in this episode, that tears were forced from my eyes. My eyes started burning until I teared up because Jesus was expressing his emotion to me, that when I was making those, that he was so happy that he was tearing, and it was making me tear because and I feel the tears coming on now because I just feel his joy that I would be his faithful servant, that even in the face of all the people who come on and give their point of view, and I am open to it all, and I listen to it, and I take it all in, and I have already had some of these understandings from different people, but that I would stay a faithful servant of his and have full faith that he is God, the creator, and that I would spread the message in the way that I do. uh, He he loves me for that, and he shows it by forcing tears out of my eyes, by my eyes starting to literally burn as if I'm cutting onions, uh, so that I cry because that's what he's feeling, and his emotions are coming through me because I am doing the will of my creator. That's just really how I say it. And I mean, nobody could tell me otherwise. All the experiences that I have, all the beautiful things that I see and experience, to tell me that Jesus isn't the creator is just not speaking the truth. And I don't discount anyone else in their own experience, but that's what it is for me. So I this episode will go down again as one of my favorites. So I've been having a lot of those lately, and I mean it every single time I say it. So go check out all that stuff, and after the bridge, stay tuned for the interview. And without further ado, here's Kelli Calabrese.
Welcome to the Godcast. cross up on my back, I'm slaying demons. It don't matter what you call that. Searching for the truth, facts are facts until they fall flat. It's looking like a story, man, it's all cap. But it's goodness over darkness, it ain't all bad. I'm at my maker, but I was called back. Emmanuel, show my people they're under a spell. Heaven or hell is free will. I made my choice and now it's well with my soul. I pray the same for you as well. Welcome to the Godcast. Welcome to the Godcast.
Hello, everybody. On today's episode, I have on a guest who is a fitness, nutrition, wellness, and lifestyle expert. She's an entrepreneur who has survived some painful experiences. She has appeared on all of the major TV networks, spoken on international stages, is a 3-time best-selling author, has 3 science degrees, and 27 certifications. Everybody welcome Kelli Calabrese to the show.
Hey, Tad, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
You did. Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you so much for coming to my little show here. This is amazing that, you are so qualified in so many different things. I am greatly honored to have you on here.
It is an honor to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
And I think the best part of all that I didn't mention in the intro is that you're a woman of Christ as well. So,
Yeah.
that just puts it over the top for me.
Best part.
Yes, ma'am. So do you want to tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I grew up in the Northeast, New York and New Jersey. And at 13, I wrote in my diary, I will be an exercise therapist. And I really didn't know what that meant. But I was really coming from a strong family history of heart disease, diabetes, obesity, cancer, alcoholism. And I just looked
Oh,
at all
wow.
that and went, ooh, I don't want anything to do with that. And I loved when I was swimming, dancing, jumping, softball, cheerleading. I just love that endorphin rush. I was like, wow, what do people not get about this? Like, I want them to just feel this happiness. And so I went on this quest and went to college, and I wound up owning health clubs and managing corporate fitness centers, and really blessed to do a lot of different things. I have spoken all over the world, and I founded a school, and I've been an executive with a nutrition company. So the vehicle has looked different during the years. I've done many different things, but it's always about helping people walk in divine health.
Wow, that's so many different things that you have been able to accomplish, and you introduced yourself at 34 years. You've been a fitness and nutrition expert, and you don't even look 34 years old. So,
Oh, thank you. It's actually
so
35 now, but thank
oh
you.
wow, yeah. So I mean, when I saw that, I was like, wait a second. There's definitely something to nutrition and fitness. I was 280 pounds at one time, and I've lost 100 pounds since.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I've gotten out of touch a little bit from where I was at my peak fitness, but I stay active and I feel younger. There was a time where when I was overweight, where I just kept pushing things off and I felt lethargic and lazy. And then as soon as I started exercise, especially legs, when I started doing legs and core, but legs mostly, I got this burst of energy, and I was telling my family, I'm like, I feel so much younger. Like, I was very athletic growing up. I was big into sports and all, but as soon as I put on all that weight, I wasn't. And it really rejuvenates the body doing all this exercise and physical fitness.
It does. I mean, imagine putting like 2 40-pound dumbbells in each hand and just walking around all day, how exhausted
Yeah.
you would be, or putting a backpack on you with 80 pounds. I mean, it definitely is exhausting, and it wears on everything, your immunity, your brain health. I mean, every function in your body you can imagine.
Yeah, and when you put it in that context, people are like, "Oh, of course, that that would do that," but we don't look at it that way because it's so gradual typically that you're not immediately putting on 80 pounds, but over time you're doing it. So it's 5 pounds here, 5 pounds here, 5 pounds, and we don't really notice the difference until we reflect back, like, "Oh, well, I put on 80 pounds in the last year."
Yeah, it's kind of a slow fade. I mean, you think about, well, I'm just going to grab go through the drive-through, at night, go back out and grab a pizza or whatever. And that's not a big deal one night or one week. But when you do that month after month, and, you're sitting on the couch with a gallon of ice cream at night, and those little things add up to big things over time.
Yes, yes, it does. So I was listening to several appearances you've had earlier today, and I heard you say that at 13 is when you really decided like you wanted to do something with fitness. So what was it like growing up with that goal in mind, and then not only accomplishing it immediately, but continuing on that? Is this some kind of like dream come true that you're living in terms of as a young teenager, you were pursuing this?
Well, I felt like I knew my calling and my purpose really early, so
Mm.
I pursued it. I mean, I ran after it. I made it happen. I had 3 college degrees by the time I was 22, and I got
Wow.
into health club ownership, right away, kinda earned my way in with sweat equity by the time I was 24, and then opened up multiple locations and had several corporate fitness centers. So, yeah, I've always been a really hard worker, and my commitment to help people be well is what drove me. So I wake up every day. I hate what God hates. So I hate obesity. I
Mm.
hate disease, cancer, lack, poverty. I mean, pedophilia. I mean, all the things that I hate sin. So I'm going to wake up every day and help people be well. And so that's what drives me. And even now in my 50s, I feel like I'm only just beginning.
Wow. Wow, that is beautifully said. And I think, all the things you said there, sin actually means to miss the mark. And I
Yes.
think all of those things are really missing the mark. And the mark is to be perfect. Well, I don't think that any of us can reach that. Jesus reached that perfection. He was that perfection. I don't think that we could, but we can only strive to do it. And we can only strive to do it when we are doing it in accordance with God. It took me a long time to understand that. Even when I started my spiritual awakening, I didn't come to God necessarily. I was looking in all these different areas, and then I was saved by Jesus Christ last year, and it was the most amazing, incredible thing that anyone could really experience. And not that people who don't experience it aren't having incredible lives in some way, but there's no words to match it.
Well, congratulations. And I'm thrilled for you. That's the best news ever. And yes, God has a part and we have a part. So it's about co
Yeah.
laboring with Him. And so He's not going to do our part. We can't do His part. But if our body is His temple, my part is to take care of that. So that's one of the only things that I can control. No one is shoving pizza and cheesecake and beer in my mouth every day. So, and not that those things are bad, but chronically they can be. So if my body represents his temple, then it's up to me to keep it healthy and fit and strong for on average, let's say 120 years that we're supposed to live. Right now, the average is about 72.
Hmm. I just had somebody, I was on the phone with him a little bit earlier. He is also a fitness, I don't want to say guru, but he's into fitness and he teaches different things. And he said to me something that was pretty mind opening. He said, is it our life expectancy because we're expecting to die at that age? Are we putting that belief into ourselves? And then therefore we're aging earlier than we should. And therefore we're dying earlier than we should. Because, like you said, it's 120 is what the Bible tells us that we should be living to, and we're doing nearly half of that.
Right. And it's interesting because if you look at people who are giving a life sentence, like for example, someone diagnosed with cancer and they say, okay, you have pancreatic cancer, you have 3 months to live. You've got, breast cancer, you've got 6 months. People die almost to the day of the
Mm,
day they were told. So if they say you have a year and a half, it's almost to the day. So you're
wow.
absolutely right. They set this expectation. They're counting down. They're expecting to die on that day or not, right? People people live years past that because they believe differently and they do things differently.
Yeah, I think it's that placebo nocebo effect that really takes hold. It's mind over matter. We're taught that, and we say it as children, but we don't actually live it completely. It's hard when we're in a materialistic world with so many, like you said, there's so many appealing things to consume, and not only food, but our music, our entertainment. So many distractions that we could just consume because it's easier and it is entertaining, if you wanna be in those types of realms, but the more that I've got in touch with God, the less entertained I am by stupid, humor, and I just look at that and I'm like, "Wow, I used to laugh at this, and now I'm just like completely disgusted by it. It's this whole change in my genetic makeup that has occurred.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, he says to guard your heart. So we
Yeah.
should have boundaries. Like haven't watched TV in 30 years. No
Wow.
news. I mean, if there's a good movie or documentary and I have friends or family over, yes, I will sit down and watch something, but nothing R-rated, no horror movies. I mean, I just put a boundary. And now if I'm at an airport or somewhere where the news is on, I almost feel assaulted because it's just
Mm.
so, sensational and emotional and dramatic. I'm like, oh my goodness, I could see how if people listen to this, they're absolutely in fear. That would make total sense. And I just choose only to let truth and light and love and peace in because that's what I want to put out. So I'm not going to put
Wow.
garbage in because when life gets hard and we get squeezed by stress and pressure and struggle, whatever's in us is what comes out. So if it's bitterness, fear, any of that, that's what comes out.
Wow, so you're really practicing what you preach. I mean, I do what you're saying, I be careful with what I put in. But I at times I still get caught up in different uh things, and it's not necessarily TV, but different things that I'm researching, different theories, conspiracy theories, or ancient cultures, or whatever is out there. I get caught up in that sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I got to take a break because now I'm not only am I in an echo chamber where I may be being influenced by something, but I'm also being distracted from what the truth actually is, and I'm not looking upon him all the time when I'm just kind of it's for entertainment purposes, but it's also I tell myself I'm doing it for in order to inform myself, but is it really that? Is it I there's this balance that we try to keep, and when we have balance, you can look like you're 30 years old when you're in your 50s.
Well, I think we're gonna fall short every day. At least I'll speak for myself. I mean, I'm gonna try my best to do my best every day,
Right.
but my flesh is going to fall short every day. So who knows why you're researching that? You may come across someone and you'll be able to speak with knowledge and authority about that to be able to hold up what they're believing to truth because you have genuine knowledge about that. So
Mhm.
yes, we have free will, but sometimes it's not accidental. Like if you feel drawn to learn something, you might go out in ministry and somehow because you have that piece of knowledge. I mean, we don't know. God will use everything. Nothing is wasted. And, only you'll know if you're deceiving yourself and thinking like, oh yeah, I need to go study this.
Oh, you may be very intuitive because I am a guest on a lot of conspiracy theory podcasts, and I bring Jesus Christ to people who normally wouldn't listen to about Jesus. So I
Yeah.
am able to relate in that way, and I feel that the saying that Jesus or God will leave the 99 in order to find the one. I feel like that's kind of my calling. That I go to the deepest, darkest places. Not necessarily the deepest, darkest, but I go to these places where uh, they're the lost. They're the one that is lost, and I'm trying to reach them, and I do my battling sometimes, but I always try to do it with love, kindness, and truth, just like the example that's been set for all of us.
That's right. Have you ever seen the movie Father of Light?
I have not. Let me
Oh my
write that
goodness.
down.
Yeah.
Father
So
of Light.
you know who Todd White is?
Todd White. No, I'm not familiar
He's
with that.
from the band Korn. And
Oh,
he
oh yes. Okay, I know.
Okay, yeah, so his church is I'm in Dallas, he's not far from me, and, Lifestyle Christianity is his church, but he went out with a crew, and he said, "God, take us to the darkest places." So they
Mm,
wound up in a voodoo place, they wound up in a brothel, they were in a mosque, they were in a cocaine den, they were in, prostitution places, and, they went
wow,
to the darkest places they could think of, and they went to shine the light. And
wow,
so they went out 2 by 2 to share the good news, and every single place that they went, light won over the darkness.
wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Uh, I thought it was Jonathan Davis. It was Todd White was the Corn member that turned to God. I
Well, I
did not
think
know that.
I think they all have now,
Oh, they
but
all did.
I'm sure Todd and then yeah, I know he always has a couple of buddies with him. I didn't know him before, but, I've gone to his church. I've seen him at my church. He's local here in Dallas, and he's doing some great work. He's actually done several documentaries since that one, but that was the
Wow.
original one.
I will definitely check that out. I appreciate that. I love having something about God to watch if I am going to watch something. My girlfriend, she's not here at the moment. she had to be somewhere else. But her and I, at times we want to do something together where we don't have to at night when we don't have to actually, pr- participate in physical activity. We just want to relax the mind, the body, and throwing on something like that is great. So
It's
thank you so
powerful.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So getting into couples, you are a divorce therapy expert. Am I wording that correctly or something to
I'm
that
a
effect?
certified divorce coach through the American Association of Christian Counselors.
Okay. So this is an interesting story as well that you were married for 25 years, right?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden your husband came home and said, "I'm not committed to the relationship." That has to be very heartbreaking. Was it expected by you at all?
No, I was really blindsided by it. I didn't think he would ever leave. I thought I had it all together. Thought things were going well. Was doing well in my career. Had two happy, healthy kids who were excelling in academics, athletics, and living in a great neighborhood. Just thought we were living the dream. And so I was really blindsided by that. And it wrecked me. I mean, that was the thing that really took me to my knees, emptied me out, really made me question everything and go on this quest to figure it out, understand, heal, get well, never repeat it again. Because I needed to hold the mirror up and look at what was my part in this, because it's never 100% the other person and 0% you.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, they'll play that victim mentality for an entire lifetime and they will never get over it. And I think that's probably why, is because they look at it that they played no part, that they were just victimized time after time. So you were a young adult when you met your husband. Is that correct?
Yes, I was 22. We got married when I was 24. And then, yeah, I got served divorce papers on my 49th birthday. And then,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and then we actually had the final papers come on the day that would have been our 25-year anniversary.
Wow, that's seems very symbolic timing. God works in his mysterious ways. And actually 49, that's 7 sevens, which 7 is the completion. So it's like you completed your completions and God was like, new life. We're going to take a quick time out to hear a word from our sponsor. Have you awakened to the horrors of this world? Are you running around lost, confused, and scared? Have you seen an uptick in conspiracy theories lately? Welcome to hell! Did you know the Bible tells us that this world is ruled over by Satan? Are you familiar with Satan offering Jesus Christ the kingdom of earth if he were to pledge his allegiance? It's crazy, I know!
The first time I heard that the word Nephilim was in the Bible, and that it roughly translates to giants, I knew I wasn't being told the truth.
Once I found out that the same bloodlines of U.S. presidents and British royalty could be traced back to the Old Testament bloodline of Cain, I knew I had found the truth.
Is everything a conspiracy? Of course it is. Satan is conspiring with fallen angels and demons to keep you uneducated and disconnected from God. But God has a plan for all this, and God wins!
Oh, yeah!
All the answers are right there in the Bible. Check out some of these customer reviews.
After waking up to conspiracy theories, I felt lost. I didn't know what to do or how to do it. Then I found the teachings of Jesus Christ, and all that immediately changed.
It was weird, going from a conspiracy theorist to a Bible thumper. But it's all there. I mean, Christians have known about all of this for hundreds, even thousands of years.
If you're unsure of life right now, pick yourself up a Bible. All of today's craziness has been prophesied thousands of years ago in the most popular literature ever.
With the Bible, I was able to find peace in this chaotic life.
Thanks to the Bible, I've been able to find my true purpose in life.
For the low, low cost of free! On thousands of websites, in thousands of churches, American bookshelves, and even prisons, the Bible can be yours today. No more confusion, no more inner turmoil, no more fringe theories, but actual truth.
Thanks, God.
Thanks, Bible.
Warning! This product has been altered by humans up to no good. It has had things deleted, added, and changed many times over. Your local pastor may tell you this is silly. Trust your gut and find people who are doing the research and providing the evidence.
Conspiracy theories woke me up. The Bible put it into context. I am now free of fear and filled with loving compassion. Thank you, Jesus. And now, back to the show.
That's right. It took me a while to realize the new life because I was definitely staying in that victim place. Even all the years that I had studied and, been in this personal development space as a life coach and health coach, I didn't know what the grief cycle was, even though I had hard things happen before. I mean, I lost my dad, my best friend to cancer. I've been through some stuff. This was just the thing that sent me into that grief. So, the victim, as you said before, is the very lowest level of energy. That's where you're like, okay, life is happening to me. There's nothing I can do, and I have no hope. And then the highest level of energy, because we are all energy, is love. So it's where Jesus would be. It's that love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness. But the tipping point that gets people from that lowest level of victim to the highest levels of love is the courage. It's the resilience to get back up again. It's to know that it matters. I can
Right.
stay down here. I can choose to stay down and be defeated. And yeah, if you heard my whole story, you'd cry for me. It'd be sad. I don't have to look forward to have someone who has a worse story than I did, for sure. There's a lot of ugly, horrible things that happen that are unfair and unjust, but even still, you have a choice to get back up again or not. And even when horrible things happen to people, they can still get back up again.
Well, that's such a great outlook, and actually listening to you speak today about this, I was actually evaluating myself, holding that mirror to myself, and I still so the last few weeks I've been trying to really let go of the any type of victim mentality that I had in me, but I wasn't doing it from that angle, and your words really helped me understand what I was doing, but I wasn't able to forgive different people in my family for different reasons. I felt like there was this cloud hanging over me, and I was really trying to forgive and have gratitude. Not that I haven't forgiven, I've forgiven many things for many different reasons, but there was still something hanging over me that I was missing the mark still. And when you worded, I forget exactly how it was worded earlier, but when I heard it, I was like, okay, I got to let go of the victim mentality. And that's how I'll forgive. And I really felt like I let go of something. This energy just left me. I do energy work with clients, and I can feel energy coming in and out of my body in different areas. So it was like, I really felt something lift off of me, and maybe this dark cloud was released, and it's thanks to the words that I heard from you at the exact time that I heard them.
Excellent. Yeah, it's so much. I mean, so much could be generational that we don't even realize. I mean, stuff gets passed down, whether it's an orphan spirit, a spirit of unworthiness, spirit of rejection, spirit of poverty. I mean, so much gets passed down that we don't even understand. You can't separate the body, mind, and spirit. So it's in our flesh, it's in our DNA. It could even be generational. So maybe there was, no good examples of forgiveness in the past. So it could be something that, was on a parent's, grandparent's side, and we're still holding on to it, but there's so much freedom when you do. And what was really the tipping point for me was, okay, why did Jesus even come? Like, if I'm gonna not forgive, wasn't that kind of one of the big reasons why he even came? And my big thing being left by my husband was rejection. I felt so rejected because I was a good wife and this wasn't supposed to happen to me. But I realized, well, Jesus isn't rejecting me. So that
Oh,
was another point, like, okay, well, it's not Jesus, and that's really the one who matters. And then the other point was nobody was more rejected than Jesus. I mean, he took every rejection, he took every sin, he took it all. And so his rejection was way worse than mine. No one was spitting at me and whipping me and putting a crown of thorns on my head and hanging me from a cross. So if he could do what he did, then I could forgive myself, which was the biggest deal, and my former husband, and not only just forgive them, but bless him in the area where he hurt me. So now he was
wow.
re-engaged within a month of our divorce and remarried
Oh,
really
man.
quickly. Yeah, so that was, just triggers and insult on top of injury, but I could say now completely with all honesty that I bless him in his new marriage and his new wife, and I want nothing but the best for them. Because what would it serve me to walk around being bitter, depressed, angry, offended, just doesn't make sense. I wanna live a great life, so I completely release that.
Wow, that's an incredible, that can be very heartbreaking in itself. You get, the timings of all this paperwork being served, the surprise that happened, and then a month later he is engaged. And wow, I mean, I can feel the sincerity coming off of you. You're like, yeah, it's just like water off a leaf. It's really incredible. It speaks to your character and your understanding of life and the larger mission that God really has for you on this earth, that you genuinely want to help people.
Well, thank you. And I took it to an even higher level where I now pre-decide to live a life of pre-forgiveness. So when I go out into my day, I already decided like my peace is too expensive to give up. So
Mhm.
if someone, is angry, cuts me off, is, short with me, whatever, I'm not going to carry that offense. I don't have time to waste to take my eyes off of Jesus. So I'm going to do my best. I mean, I'm not perfect at it, but I'm just not going to lose my peace and be offended. It's not worth it. So if something, really horrible and dramatic happens, I might feel sad, I might feel angry, whatever, but I'm not gonna stay there as long. I'm not gonna go as deep. I'm not gonna fall as fast, as hard. I'm just like, nope, pre-forgiveness. Like when you've
Wow.
been through stuff and you decide, like nothing is even a big deal anymore. It just isn't.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I try to do the same thing, I let things go. I used to, before I had this, spiritual awakening, I used to let every little thing, just another tally mark, like, this person cut me off, this person did this person made me feel this way. It was all that stuff. I was just adding up all the tallies and then carrying them around, and I never let it go. And having the spiritual awakening, now I give it to Jesus. I'm like, maybe I'll in the moment, I'm still not gonna react exactly the way that I would want to, but I have this on my wrist all day, every day. What would Jesus do? A WWJD. And I I look at it from time to time, it'll just come in on my field of vision. Like maybe someone will cut me off and I'll throw my hands up and there it is. I'll
That's
take a
right.
breath and I let it go.
I love it. I was at a funeral today and I mean, it's an honor to be there, to be, at the celebration of someone's life. And it just standing there makes you think like, am I doing something that matters? Am I going out
Mm.
every day and making a difference? Am I going out, sharing the good news, co-laboring? Because I want to do that every day so that when I take my last breath, I made a difference in the kingdom. I brought the kingdom of heaven here to earth as much as I could.
Wow. Yeah. And if you live with that as your mission statement of life, then you're so focused on that all this stuff on the sides, that's just in between. It's not going to stop you from seeing your vision that you started seeing at such a young age.
Yes.
So I would like to get into divorce. What is the top reasons that divorce happens? What is it that drives couples from maybe having a great relationship or a good relationship into divorce?
Well, what they put on their divorce papers is infidelity is the number one. The second one is that, they just grew apart. But if you back it up, the number one thing that everyone really wants is to be unconditionally loved. And it's not a want, it's a need. And
Yeah.
no one person can give you that. The only one who can love you unconditionally is God. Even a team of people cannot fill every love bucket that you have. And that's why we need community. So we have like friends that are funny and friends that are wise and you kind of get different things from different friends, but your spouse, you want them to love you for who you are and not try and fix or change you. So that's what everyone wants. Women want to feel secure. That's her second need. And men want to feel respected. That's their second need below unconditional love. So what happens is when a woman starts feeling insecure in her man because, maybe he's not a mature, discipled up, wise man, and maybe he is spending time in the basement. She starts thinking he's looking at porn and, however it might start. And then she starts to disrespect him because of how he's acting. When he starts to feel disrespected, he'll start going out doing crazier things to make her feel even less secure. And it
Mm.
winds up being this ugly cycle of she feels less secure, he feels less respected. and then they're not communicating and they're glitching and malfunctioning because they maybe didn't have a good example of marriage. They didn't have the skills. They don't continue to date each other. 95% of what people do after the age of 35 is habitual. So they're not, just can't rekindling the love all the time. And life gets hard, and people are going to do something when life is hard. So when you're in pain, your heart hurts, your head hurts, you're going to turn to something. We're designed to be addicted, but we're designed to be addicted to God. So if you're trying to fill it with wine, another woman or man, isolation, escapism, too much fill in the blank, too much exercise. I mean, you can do anything that's too much of it. So that's what starts to happen. And then one or the other person may go outside the marriage, and that usually becomes the demise. Very few stay together successfully after there's been an affair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is a relationship killer, and for good reason. That is a very. There's so many things that come with that. Emotions that come with that. Do you think that maybe we have projection issues as well? That maybe we're projecting our thoughts, like we go to the worst possible scenario, like you said, like what's my husband doing in the basement, and now I'm projecting that he's looking at porn. So maybe in the way that the mind works is that he's now picking up on signals of porn, and maybe he starts watching porn then, as if she is quote unquote manifesting, or things are coming true because we're already setting in place that that's what's going on, and then it becomes reality.
Yeah, I had one guy say, "Well, I was getting accused so much, so I may as well. I was
Yeah.
getting punished for it anyway, so
Right.
why not? She thinks I'm doing it, so now I am." So yeah, absolutely, that can happen. So you can manifest that because you start believing it and projecting that energy for sure. It's real.
Yeah, I actually, when I was a teenager, I started rebelling against God and doing all these criminal behaviors. But before it really got as bad as when I went to state prison, I was having all these adults around me who were then treating me as if I was a criminal when I was a teenager. I was doing not so good things, but teachers were making jokes about it in front of the other students. All this projection, police were just stopping my friends and I for no reason, just other than to harass us. And it turned into legal cases against them because of the harassment. So it was just like everyone was. I don't want to be the victim, but there was this feeling of, okay, well, I might as well do it if I'm being treated that way. So I very much see what you're saying here, in that if you're being treated like you're cheating, if your wife or husband is going through your cell phone because they don't trust that you're being faithful, that you're like, oh, well, I might as well just do it anyway.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I am so sorry that you were treated that way. I mean, people are definitely profiled, or, someone being called dumb, or, whatever it is. People think those little nicknames when they're little or nothing, but it has power. It sticks with people. They start to believe it. And if you look at, the rates of suicide, that started with some lie where
Yeah.
they believed something that just was not true about them. Because if they saw themselves how God saw themselves, they would know that they were not too far gone, that nothing they had done was too terrible. So the first thing God brings together, the covenant, is marriage. And it's going to be the first thing the enemy tries to divide. So if he can pull apart and separate a family, now you're dividing finances, now you're creating generational divorce. The statistics for children of divorce are horrible. They're much more likely to be criminals, teenage pregnancy, drop out of school, um, you know, be in poverty. So if the enemy can split apart a marriage, God brought it together. Souls are tied, and now those souls get torn apart. So I love what you said about that, though. That's why it's so important that we all go out and just give someone your smile, give someone a word, take a moment to connect with them, make them feel like they're the most valuable person on the planet. If I see homeless people, I'm not in the city a lot. We don't have them where I am out in the country. But last time I was in New York, I was on a corner and I saw a girl and she had a sign. She said, "Does anybody see me?" And I just dropped
Oh,
to my knees and I sat with her for 30 minutes. I'm like, "Hey, what's your name? Tell me your story." And, if you could, just got her to dream a little bit. I'm like, "Hey, what do you need right now?" She's like, "I'm hungry." I go, "Me too. Why don't you come with me to the restaurant? It's where I'm going." And so we sat at a nice restaurant. We ate, and then after I'm like, well, what else do you need? She's like, I would love a shower. And I was staying at a hotel that I was checking out of at like 3 in the morning for a TV show. And I was like, you know what? I was going to let her use my shower because they were doing my hair and makeup, but I wasn't going to use my shower. I go, you know what? I feel led to get her own room. So I asked her, how much would it be for a night? And so I gave her the money. I'm like, where's your family? And I wound up giving her money for a bus ticket and took her to the store and got her stuff for the next day. And I'll never see her again. She didn't have a phone. Her name is Tiffany. Her name is Tiffany. I gave her the numbers to some friends in the city, but I'm like, how she must be treated and how people see her, not even as a person, just breaks my heart. So
Wow.
whether it's, as a kid, when my kids were going through school, I always made sure that I looked out for the ones who, were maybe bullied or not given healthy attention, and just take a moment to make them be seen and heard.
Wow, that's an incredible story. That's showing the world that Jesus Christ is real. That's how we do it. And he's from Israel, Israel. Jesus
Mhm.
Christ, how do we? This is what I've been mentoring people. I've been telling them that, you know, don't just tell people about Jesus. That's the wonderful talking about him. But when you shove it down someone's throat, they're likely to reject it. But when you show them in conjunction with your words that Jesus Christ is real, and then they look at it and they reflect on you. They're like, "Wow, Jesus is real." And what you just said, right there, your story, you were kind of, I don't want to say a savior to her, but you were definitely doing the Lord's work, reaching out to this woman. That's just an incredible tale.
Yeah, I mean, we want to go out and be the hands and feet every day. We have no idea what a difference it would make. Even yesterday in the news, I'm not sure when this is going to air, but someone who was a celebrity, beautiful attorney on an entertainment show as a host, had family around her, and commit suicide. I mean, the suicide
Mm,
rates are so high, and yes, mental health is definitely part of it, but you never know how having hope in someone, taking time to just, sit with them and hear what their dreams are and let them know they're valued and important. Like you said, not in a religious and sensational way, but just to love them.
right. Right, that's incredible. Yeah, I've dealt with suicide in my family, and my best friend growing up, he lived across the street from me. He was 1 day older than me. He committed suicide. I had about, I think, 5 or 6 people my age or within a 2 year range when we were teenagers that committed suicide. It's like this, and we were in a small town too, a small little area, and it's like this energy of suicide takes over people, and it grasps onto those negative self-talk that we have, that maybe we hear elsewhere, and then we own it, and then we start to think that about ourselves, and then the spirit of suicide, or however, energy of it really just grabs hold of us. And when we can have someone reach down to us, just a small little act of kindness can just pull us out. And when we don't have that, tragedy ensues.
Yeah, even something as simple as setting an appointment for tomorrow. Like, hey, I'm going to call you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Just
Mm,
knowing they have something in their future and some appointment and someone who cares, someone who's checking in, keeps people alive another day.
wow. Well, that's very touching. So do you wanna get into your, Christian counseling a little bit? Are you counseling women specifically, or is this, any, gender?
When I first started, I felt led to work with women. At the time that I got divorced, I had about 10 friends who were getting divorced at the same time. And I was kind of
Wow.
watching what everyone was doing, and I wanted them to do something healthy, and I wanted to do something healthy. So I created a program for women, but I have been shocked at how many men reach out to me and they're like, what do you have for men? What about me? And I love men. I have nothing against men at all. I don't believe they suffer any less. But at the time that I started my coaching, it was for women, but now I am actually working with men one on one. So, yes, one of the first things that we talk about is identity, because you need to know who you are and whose you are, especially when your identity is as a wife or a husband, and now it isn't. Mine definitely was in being a wife. I was a wife for 25 years. It was important to me. I valued it. I was a good wife. I have a book about it, and it was taken away from me in a moment, and I like lost who I was. And my kids were going off to college at the time. So your role as a mom is changing, and empty nester. And, we went from a family of 4, which we always had students live with us who were going to seminary. And so we went from a family of 5 down to just me and my daughter for a year, and then she was gone. So just identity was really important for people to understand that things in the world can be gone in a moment. So any title, the car you drive, the purse you carry, whatever, none of that matters. It's how God sees you and knowing whose you are. And then we get into forgiveness, because that, I wish I could say I did that first. That was actually the last part of my healing, but I talked to my clients about it, up front. And so we cover that. Renewing your mind, because so many people get stuck in the past. They just keep retelling that sad story over, that unjust story over and over and over. So we need them to renew their minds daily and get them present. We talk about purpose, because you might need to find it again or find it anew. Self-love, because so many people have self-loathing after divorce, whether they just think they're unlovable, they're, obviously they're older, so maybe their bodies don't look the same, they're nervous about dating, and, just again, what's inside you is what comes out of you. So if you're not filling yourself with love, you're not going to have love to give. Gratitude is another one. That is a huge superpower.
Yes.
Yeah, I every day write out gratitude, and I just go throughout my day looking for things to be grateful for. And it just gets that flow of things coming to you because you're so grateful of things. Divine health, abundant wealth. And then the last thing we talk about is, creating a new life that you can be excited about. So it's joy, resurrection, celebration.
Wow. So, I mean, and you have so many different fields covered in all your certifications and degrees that you can really resonate with somebody of what they need. I can see how you put yourself in their shoes and you're like, okay, this is really going to work for you, specifically with each client. So it, that's really great that you cover so many different bases, because a lot of people, when we're lost, we don't know where to start, and just anywhere is a good place, I guess. Of course, one place, one thread, if you unravel one thread, then the whole thing's going to come with it. So when we can just grab onto one thing, so having a laid out schedule like this is quite amazing that you have it so, and I'm sure it's so detailed and perfected at this point, the
Well,
amount
I
of.
went on a 3-year quest myself to try and like get better and heal and be joyful again. And so I put together the things that really move the needle for me. So I spent tens of thousands of dollars and years, going on retreats and working with, healing coaches and going to divorce recovery and going to the conferences. So I want to save people the time and the money. Most people don't have 3 years to take off and just figure it out. So I want to help them get there as quickly and as holistically as possible.
Okay. So do you work with people one on one online, or is this in person only, or is it a combination?
It's a combination. So I have a program, it's called Intentionally Fabulous, and it's about redefining your life as a single person. So anyone can go get that anytime at intentionallyfabulous.com. It gives them the 8-week course with all the content. It gives them the healing guide, which has, meditations and affirmations, visualization. So I do like a heaven experience with them to get them to see themselves the way God does and be able to ask good questions and get great answers. And then I also have a group program where I'm starting a group now. So if they want to do it in a group, that's an option. And then I also do one-on-one coaching.
Okay. So that's amazing. So do you think that maybe God, well, I think that I already know the answer, but do you think maybe you went through what you went through, and it was 3 years of finding yourself so that you could relate to people, so that you could help bring them to a lighter experience and an understanding in a way that you have personalized that, so that you really understand it?
It totally was a God thing, because I did not want to do this. I mean, I did not want to put myself out there as the divorce coach. I'm like, no, I didn't even say the word divorce for a year. Literally, my former husband moved out before I even told my mom or my brother. Like, it was at the point where, okay, you can't hide this anymore. So to
Wow.
put myself on a platform as the divorce coach, I'm like, my kids are not going to like this. My former husband's not going to like this. My new husband, I'm not dating yet, but at some point I'll have a new husband. I'm like, he probably doesn't want his wife to be the divorce coach. So I didn't want to do this. This was totally God calling me. Like, I had 30 plus years of coaching already in fitness, nutrition, wellness, lifestyle, and the deep dive I've done spiritually. So I've always taken a whole body approach, holistic approach in physical, financial, relational, emotional, social, professional, spiritual. But I added this, more of the divorce relationship coaching to it. So that was totally a God thing. I didn't want to do it. I was like, no, it's kind of kicking and screaming, but I really felt led to do it. And even if it was just for me, I decided I would do it. So if it was for my own healing to go even deeper in creating this content, I was okay with that. But I'm thankful there's actually people that are connecting to the program and getting well.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of how Jesus works. He puts us in uncomfortable positions, but we hear the calling and we're like, all right, I'll do it. With my podcast, I told all my different traumas that I've been through, my whole story, and the healing that happened from that, the energetic releases that I had by telling my deepest, darkest secrets. I put it all out there, and I can't listen back to it myself at times. It's bad audio quality, but it's also a very, these are secrets that we keep within ourselves because we have this shame, guilt, fear, and to put it out there to help others. I think that's so selfless, and I didn't do it for necessarily for that reason. I just felt called to really just open up, and the amount of people that reach out to me and tell me that it helped them, that's just, it humbles me every single time. Like, it gives me great joy, but it gives me this humbleness, like, okay, this is exactly why God had me do this, because now I don't feel, I never ever feel above somebody, where sometimes we feed our own egos by, getting compliments. When someone tells me that my story helped them, it lowers my ego. It's amazing.
Yeah, I have found that the more vulnerable that I am, the more people connect to me. Because people would always say, "Oh, well, Kelly, it's easy for you. You've got college degrees, or you used to edit the industry's magazine, or you've been on TV, or you're pretty, or whatever." And when I really got real and vulnerable was when people started to connect. So yeah, I know what it feels like to look at your husband's phone and see messages from women with kiss emojis, and I know what it feels like
Oh,
to feel like you ruined your kids' lives, and I know what it feels like to cry yourself to sleep for months on end and grind your teeth down to nothing from the stress and have panic attacks. I mean, stuff that was never an issue for me before this, but the more I talk about it, and everyone's journey is a little bit different, the more that people relate to it.
yeah. Wow. So, do you want to talk a little bit about, uh, is there opportunities to stop divorce? When maybe they're already, outside of a physical abuse, and that type of behavior. Is there a point where papers have been served and one party really wants to gain the partner back? Is there something they can do, or is it too far gone at that point?
It is always my desire for them to stay in a united marriage if it is at all possible. Like you said, if it's safe, it's not abusive. If one person comes to me, even if they're the one who doesn't want to work out, I had one woman come and she's like, "I can't stand to be in the same room with him. I hate his tattoos. I hate," like, she's just like, I'm moving into the guest room. And I'm like, okay, let's take a breath. Like, first, let's calm down and let's work on you. And we worked on her, and this was probably 2 years ago. They are so madly in love. They've never been more connected, united. She's planning his surprise 50th birthday right now, and I just love seeing their pictures on social media. I was actually with them this week. I'm like, wow. And so we worked on her, and then he, was had the desire to want to stay married. And so yeah, I've had every combination that you can imagine. But if there's a way for them to stay together, divorce is horrible. I mean, God hates it for a reason. It is a life event for a reason, because everything changes. You're probably changing your homes. You might be working if you're a woman for the first time in years. You've got your kids half the time. Your money's divided. Your friend group changes. Your church may change. I mean, people don't even know all the details. Like that first party you show up to and you're the only single because all your friends were couples, and the first holiday that you're alone and the kids are with her or him. So it's horrible, horrible. I would say as long as it's healthy, do anything you can to save your marriage. Um, Even if God wasn't in it initially, if neither one of you knew God when you came together, you were brought together. So if it can be done, you will be a better, stronger, more resilient, incredible person if you can work through it. Because most people, the second divorce rate is even higher, and the third divorce rate is even higher. Because wherever you go, there you are, and you bring the same things with you that you didn't work on. So if you were a perfectionist or an enabler or a control freak or whatever you did, you're going to do it again and you're going to be less patient next time. And now
Right.
the biggest thing for the second divorces too is the blended families. Now it gets complicated when you start trying to put, two sets of kids together, or if you have kids between the two new couples, and then you've got, ex-in-laws and exes. And I mean, it is complicated. So it just makes it so much harder. It's not God's design. Divorce just isn't.
Yeah, I'm in one of those complicated situations. I never got married, but as a teenager, my daughter's mother and I, we had a child, and through I'm not going to get into all of it, but through it wasn't very good, and we both ended up going to prison, being drug addicts. Went to prison at separate times, and rehab. It was a recurring theme for her, and I ended up changing my life around 5 years ago. Well, I went to prison about 7 years ago, and during that time is when I prayed to God. I brought God into my life. She didn't. I started improving, and she, we weren't together. It was very not a good relationship for some years, but so now, I am with my current love, who's not here at the moment, but we have that mixed family, and it is a work through process that, and it was very beneficial. I moved from Pennsylvania. I'm from the Philly area. Moved from there to Georgia, and I had to really heal myself. And coming to her, God put us together. He really ordained Mimi and I to be together. And in healing myself, I've healed my daughter. I've showed her how a relationship should be, could be. She didn't have very good examples before her where we were, and there was a lot of animosity that I was taught and that I was then teaching, and I had to stop it in myself and really start to understand it, and then just becoming a better person. Because my goal really from the time I prayed to God was to better myself every single day. How can I be better tomorrow than I was today? How can I be better today than I was yesterday? That was always my goal. And in doing that, my daughter has completely come full circle. She has a great relationship with Jesus herself. She is, she put down Billie Eilish, that 12-year-old girl. And it's not easy for them to put down these teen idols that they have, but she put that down and replaced it with healthy things. And it's been really the handiwork of God that we've been in, but it's taken a lot of patience in order for Mimi and I to both let go of our past traumas, our baggage that we brought along, that we had to recognize in ourselves what was going on and be patient with each other, because there was a lot of times where it could have just been a reactionary thing of get out, and but I moved 750 miles, and you know if if I get out, that's I'm gone. So never really got to that point. It was just beautiful the way that God put us together. But it's like you said, it's landmines. It's very tricky with stepchildren and in-laws, and I have adult stepchildren now. So it's a different type of relationship than with a child or a teenager as a stepchild.
Wow. Well, praise God. That is such great news. I'm just thrilled for your daughter, and he will do it. I mean, he'll redeem things, beauty for ashes. Nothing is wasted. I mean, every one of his promises are yes and amen in his timing. It's not our timing, it's his timing, but he will do it. He's never too late. And that's a beautiful story.
Yeah, yeah, it's the I think the main reason why it happened is because I was here, I'm here, she's here, and we put Jesus in the middle, and that's how it worked because turned to God and said, "How, what would Jesus do? How could I get around this situation? How could we not let these little things bother us and get over that, as well as recognize that this is past emotional baggage and behaviors that are programmed into us from our past traumas."
Yeah. No, it's good. I mean, communication is key. My kids are 20 and 21 and, dating. And so I talk to them about having those critical conversations. Like you need to have the hard conversations now. You need to be able to address things and be open and not be, feel taken advantage of or get resentful or like you can't let stuff build and then explode. So you have
Exactly.
to have the hard conversations.
Yeah, yeah, and Mimi and I, that was a thing that we really worked on, and I don't want to go too deep into that, but I wish she was here, but it was this thing that we just really uh, we we wanted to be truthful. That was the first thing that we built our relationship on, and then from there, we learned kindness and loving and empathy and understanding and compassion, and then all these beautiful things that it's just one step led to the other, but it all started with just, "All right, let's be truthful because if we avoid the truth, then it's just gonna come out later in a more angry, more, less defined way, and it's gonna be all of it all at once, and we can't handle things that way." And we just kind of every time she would send it my way, I would like deflect it. Every time I send it her way, she would deflect it, and it was just a real thing of beauty.
Wow. And I love that you started with trust because when that's lost, it is really hard to gain that back. But if you're building your foundation on trust, things can go so much more beautifully. And when it's lost, it's just hard. I had an accountability coach one time in Denver, and I'm in Dallas, and we never met. And our very first call, he goes, "You can never lie to me." And I was like, "What?" I go, "You don't even know me. I am not a liar." Like, what do you but something about when he said that to me, "You can never lie to me. Like, if I'm gonna be your accountability coach, you can never lie." And it just made me realize, like, even small little things that you think are harmless, like, "Oh, yeah, no, there was traffic. That's why I'm late." It's like, "No, you didn't leave on enough time." And so just owning everything and just being
Wow.
really responsible, it's been a beautiful thing, and it makes you, even if you think you might be sheltering your kids from something, and you have to do age appropriate things, but it just made me really become almost ultra truthful, and it's been great. It's been great. And when you say like never lie to me, you have to catch yourself and make sure you're not just saying something to make someone feel good or it's been awesome. It was a powerful thing that I will never forget.
Well, that's incredible that you, as a coach yourself, you still go to, or maybe this was before you were coaching, but you're still looking to others to how can I better myself? And if you have a program that I could really get something out of, I'm going to join it. That's a really incredible thing that you would be vulnerable enough because a lot of coaches they want to give off the image that they're perfect. They don't want to have the possibility that they've messed up. And that's when lies do seep through because now I'm trying to hold this image that isn't a real thing in front of me and I have to do this juggling act in order to keep it up.
And it really makes you dig deeper. Like when you're about to say something like, "Yeah, I don't have time for that." It's like, no, okay, really, we do what we value with our time. So do you really not have time? Do you not value that? And so it really makes you go deeper and get to the core of the heart of matters too. So yeah, it's been really powerful. You can never lie to me.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say that to clients from now on. I've never said that, but I can feel the power that that phrase would have, just right away. You can never lie to me.
Yeah, I was just talking to a friend tonight who's a full-time professional coach, and one of her people didn't renew with her, and she was really distraught and upset. I'm like, "Well, what did they say?" And she said, "Well, they said they didn't have the money. They have to send money, back to their family in Mexico." I go, "Well, why do you not believe her?" She's like, "I don't know. I just think, she's not being truthful with me." And so I'm like, "Well, maybe she really does have family in Mexico and she needs the money, or maybe it's this cycle of poverty that she has that the minute something uncomfortable comes up, she pulls back
Uh,
from, learning, doing something that could actually help her grow and make more money with the coaching that you're offering. But it was just kind of interesting that her initial reaction was, she's lying to me. I don't believe that she doesn't have the money. This whole program is about helping her make more money. That's what the coaching is about. So setting that up front with clients, like, you can't lie to me. Like, you need to be on, why are you not doing the coaching? Are you just afraid? Or am I pushing your limits too much? Are you uncomfortable? Like, what is the real reason money, or is it something else? Because if they're
Yeah,
coaching with her, they've got plenty of money, but
yeah.
it's interesting.
Well, I love how you are so aware and attuned to the possibility of it being an ancestral thing that's passed on, and that you bring the spiritual sense to it, that it's not just a material in your face thing that you can tangibly touch, but it's okay, what are the possibilities here? Let's think about it and let's really analyze it in a full spectrum. Like you were saying earlier, we need full spectrums. We aren't just a hive mind. We aren't a singular thing. We, on a grand scale we are, but make up this full spectrum. So I really, really appreciate that. That is the aspect that you take a really a holistic. It's not just holistic in one sense, but it's all of them, and it's so diverse. I really like that approach that you have.
When you think about wellness, when I first went to school, they show you this wheel that's supposed to represent the wellness wheel. So you have like all these spokes, like physical, financial, relational, professional, spiritual, and your wheel is never going to be a 10. Like every area of your life is never going to be perfectly balanced, just rolling along. Like, my health is a 10, my money's a 10, but it just doesn't happen. But that's God's design, because sometimes we are meant to go deep in an area in a season, because we're supposed to be strengthened and grow in that area. So, for example, if you're older, you have elderly parents, at some point you're probably going to be taking care of them. I was at a funeral today for a friend's dad, and, he had to take time off, and he really got to connect with his dad and be there when he took his last breath. And, they had kind of a rocky adult relationship, but at the end it became beautiful. And so sometimes, maybe you lose your job for a reason. Maybe
Mm,
were had issues with money, or you needed this time off to do something different. Or so when you have kids, that's your thing. Like, that's your season to be, parenting, and you've got an infant. And so it's okay to go deep in something, but the idea is we don't want everything to fall apart. So we
yeah,
want all the areas to be as best as possible, and then look at what area can I strengthen and deepen, because you can't do all of them at once.
right.
But try and keep your health, obviously, as good as you can all the time. Try and have investments and money working for you and savings all the time. Try and have good relationships, but some things are just for a season. So people will come into our life for a season and then be gone. So when I work with clients, we kind of figure out, like, what's the area you're willing to work on, that you're committed to work on, even if it's not the one that's the lowest or you need the most. Let's start with the one that you'll commit to.
Yeah, I like to use the phrase, "She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes," because things come to you when you're ready for it, and if you show God that you're not ready for it by reacting in a poor way, then it's like, "Okay, we'll put that on the back burner," and then the same situation will come up with a different person at a different time, a different location, because you're ready to work on it again, and if you show God that you are ready by handling it in a better way, then it's okay. Then, like you just said, it's not a perfect 10, but you're moving up a notch there. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
Ones that keep coming back around, I think for everyone, at least for me,
yeah,
humility, like, that's just gonna keep
oh
coming
yeah,
back. Patience, and I
oh
keep
yeah,
getting better and better, but if you asked, for these things, you're going to be tested in them for sure. But we want to love what God loves and hate what he hates. He hates pride. So humbling us is something that is going to keep coming up until we get it, and it will have many different forms and faces.
yeah, yeah. You're so right about that. And I think that if we did perfect ourselves, if that was possible for us to do it, that I don't where would we go from that? I don't think that we could perfect ourselves, because we have to keep growing. And even I think that maybe we even if we are 10 right now, when we get there, it just keeps raising, because we, like you said, we go deeper, we notice more. And I think that sometimes we feel like maybe we are perfecting ourselves in certain ways. and then we turn around and we're like, oh, we forgot all of this, and then we start working on that. So I think it's a never ending cycle of trying to become what the creator created us for. And even if it's on an individual scale, say I did perfect myself, then I start pulling on traumas of others collectively, like we're coaching people that now I'm taking on your energy, your stuff that you're sending, that I'm trying to help you with it, and I think that we kind of pull it off of them onto us, and we transmute it in our daily lives, and I don't think that it ever ends because we can always keep doing that with people.
Yeah, I mean, the whole goal is to be more Christ-like. So we're
Yeah.
never going to get to that 100. I mean, I've talked to monks, I've talked to, some really people at high levels of transcendence that have regular heaven experiences and hear audible voices. And I have a long way to go, but I'm going to get up and do my best every day to be more Christ-like, because that is the ultimate goal. And even, for example, I've worked in fitness and nutrition for so long. Someone reaches a weight loss goal and they're like, okay, yay, oh, awesome, this is great. But then they're like, maybe I could really clean up my diet even more. And then they get like new levels of energy and leanness. And they're like, I wonder if I should go like vegetarian. And then,
Right.
they get into, should I do anti-inflammatory? Should I do microbiome? Like there's so many more levels to where you can take it. Maybe I should do a triathlon. So yeah, getting to the first goal gets you started. But, even with investing, I've had the opportunity to talk to David Green, who owns Hobby Lobby, and he gives back so much. And so he's always looking for, I mean, he's a billionaire, but how can I earn more so that I could give more back, that I could support more organizations and charities and, spread the gospel in more ways. So he
Right.
doesn't need to work, but it's for the kingdom. He's looking to have more, profit and income, and so there's really no limit. Look at the wealth of Solomon. I mean, that's where I'd like to get so that I could bless more people, be blessed to be a blessing, be the head and not the tail, the borrower, not the lender.
Wow, and, if anyone watching the video, they just saw my video start shaking as a helicopter flew over top of me, and it
Wow.
was very loud. It started shaking, my camera. But what you were saying with the audible voices and the transcendent experiences, I have that. It was, unlocked to me when I became spiritual. My spiritual awakening was something God gave me, and it's been so clear. I was just on the phone with Mimi earlier, and I was telling her last night, Jesus, I hear his voice speaking to me. Like it's a literal conversation nowadays where sometimes, he shows things through our daily life in different ways, and I read it that way, but more and more I'm hearing his voice more clearly. He's talking to me as if I am his son, and he calls me his son. And it's like it's the most profound thing. Like last night my eyes were burning and it made me cry because I was doing something that was promoting Jesus, and he just tells me, he's like, even after all the people you've spoken to that could have convinced you otherwise, you still promote me and you still have full faith that I am God. And for that, I love you, my son. And like it was this such a profound experience. And I'm still on the computer trying to do stuff, and my eyes are burning. And he's like, no, just let it cry, let the tears out, just let it happen. And it's just so amazing.
That is awesome. I mean, the more time you spend with him, the more encounters like that you
Yeah.
have. And eventually you start to see people the way Jesus sees them.
Yeah.
So when you meet people that are strangers, you feel like you know them because your souls, just connect with them, and you see with compassion and empathy, and you could start to see what Jesus sees in people the more time
Yeah.
that you spend with him. And that's really a cool thing, because then you have this knowing, like people that you haven't even met yet, and you can sit with them and instantly start to go deep with them.
Yeah, and I also see how people are different aspects of myself that I'm like, "Oh, that is the inner child in me that I haven't healed yet. Let me go do that." That's really how I see it. I'm like, "Okay, I can understand, I can relate to this person. I've been in their situation." And I really think that's gets back to what you were saying earlier about how when you are vulnerable, people started coming to you because they resonate with you more. And I think that people, when they have a common ground with you, that they're more willing to be open. They're more willing to want to be with you because you're relatable and you can really help them out in a personal scenario. Whereas when we present ourselves as that false image and we're up on our throne and we aren't easily connectable, it gives this appearance where that's cold, it's calculated, it's hands off, whereas you're very personable. I mean, you came on my little podcast, you've been on all the major networks, like you said, you're editing magazines, you have lived quite the glamorous life in some aspects, and you still want to reach out on small podcasts and touch whoever you can with your words. That maybe it doesn't benefit you financially ever, but someone's can benefit from hearing your words, and that's what it's all about with you. So I really love that, and I really respect what you're doing.
Well, in September, I committed to just getting the word out any way that I could. And I thought, well, podcasts are something that I literally could do every day. And some days, some weeks, I'll do like 14 podcasts in a week.
Wow.
And so I've done over 100 since September and really just committing to getting the word out. I get nothing for this at all. So I don't get paid to do these, but it's just a way for me to evangelize and give people hope when there's so many people that are hopeless and just so stressed out right now. So I don't know how long I will continue to keep up this pace, but I'm doing it until I, feel like I'm not supposed to, or I have a different platform, but it's just my commitment to get the word out.
Wow, that is awesome. And I think we touched on a lot of your story here. Is there anything else that we left out that maybe you wanted to get into?
That's a good question. I would just say to people, we our time here is short. We only get today. So one of the things I do with my clients is we work on a to don't list, which is what are the things you need to stop doing? Maybe they were valuable at some point in your life, but right now that they're not. And to make room for something new, you need to get rid of something old. And that even includes like don't conform, don't overbook yourself, don't judge, don't gossip, um, don't stay in the past. In addition to things like don't, overbook your time doing whatever. Are you spending too much time doing video games? If you look at your 24 hours, what's the highest use of your time? What's the best possible thing that you can do? I'm not saying don't have fun, don't entertain, um, but what can you stop to make room for the new? Everything you've done in your life up to this point started with a belief, which became a thought, which became a spoken word, which then became something that you acted upon. When you act upon it habitually, then it becomes a habit. That habit becomes your character, and the character becomes your identity. So if you
Wow.
back it up to how am I spending my time? What are my beliefs? If I want to get to the next level in whatever, whether it's my physical body, professional, financial, relational, in any way, what do I need to stop doing so that I can make space for doing the next thing that's going to bring me to the next level?
Wow, you just laid it out very easy for someone to understand how where they are now is all started on a thought and an idea, and then it all grows from there. And for me, what I heard someone say the phrase, take 10 minutes a day. If you want to do something new, 10 minutes a day. Just dedicate that. And then after, however many time, maybe it's 3 weeks, maybe it's 7 weeks, maybe it's 3 months, who knows how long it takes for people to actually be able to dedicate more and more time to it, but it becomes a thing. That's what I started my podcast 10 months ago. This will be my 99th episode of my regular. I think I have 122 episodes out right now, but on my regular timeline of episodes, this will be number 99 in less than 10 months. And
Wow.
I've been putting them out at least three a week now for 5 months. And I just was like, all right, you know what? I was setting them at specific times. I was weeks ahead, and I took a break during Christmas. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to put them out as they come in. And what happens is I have like uh, 12 people sign up for like a 2 week period. And I'm like, all right, well, looks like I'm going to be very busy for the next 2 weeks. And it's just God just keeps showing me like, well, you can do more. It's okay. I mean, you see that you're now doing this part, that part. And I was technically, a caveman last year at this time. And now I'm doing audio editing, video editing. This I I do a whole production all by myself, a one-man show, booking, all that stuff. And it's God just keeps showing me little by little. He's giving me more responsibility because I show him that I can handle more, and I have great guests like you who I come in contact with that it's going to shed a lot of light. I think this episode is going to be really eye-opening for people in the divorce as well as or in the relationship aspect, not necessarily divorce, but as well as bringing God into your relationship. And no matter how far gone you are, you can turn back.
Absolutely. Well, you are good at it. I mean, you were so great at communicating and sending the links and confirming, and you're a great host. So you are definitely anointed to do this in this season for sure. So I will do what I can to evangelize it.
Oh, well, I appreciate that so much, especially someone who's done 100 podcasts in a few months. That means a lot to me.
Well, I've just been the guest. You're doing the hard work.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'd like to end the podcast by, well, first I'll allow you to tell the audience where they can find you and all your stuff, but then I'll want to ask you, what is your go-to grounding technique to stay human, to stay engulfed in Christ and live your life mission that you've been doing your entire life now?
Absolutely. Well, I love to hear from people. So I answer every single email. So if there's something you heard on this podcast that you want to, share, respond to, challenge you're having, something that inspired you, it's Kelli with an I at kellicalabrese.com. You can go to my website, kellicalabrese.com, Facebook. It's all my name, LinkedIn, wherever you are, everything is my name. You can find me. If you're a woman going through any stages of separation, divorce, post divorce, I have a free private Facebook group, and it is awesome. We talk about the hard things, we support each other, we laugh. So go there. Community is so important. So many people are feeling really isolated right now, especially women going through divorce. So join us there. And then what keeps me going is probably about 12 years ago, I did, maybe like 14 years ago now, a Bible study, and was reminded of be anxious for nothing, but in all things with prayer, supplication, and thanksgiving, cast your cares upon the Lord. And I stand on that one every single day, not to be anxious. But the one in this last season that I've been standing on is trust God and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. So those are really my two life scriptures that, when things get tough and hard and I'm questioning and I don't have answers, I just have to remind myself, be anxious for nothing and trust God.
Wow, I've actually gone on several podcasts in the last 2 weeks and on mine and been talking about Proverbs 3:5. I'm paraphrasing, but he says, "Don't lean on your own understandings, that trust in God." And that is something that I've talked about in different aspects, in different contexts. I brought it up, and here you are talking about that's don't try to understand it yourself, give it to God. And that's how, the synchronicity that God shows me in my every waking moment, I can't ignore it. It's just such a thing of beauty.
Confirmation. I love that. He always gives you
Absolutely.
confirmation.
Yeah, so I want to thank you again so much for coming on, and everybody make sure you check out Kelli's stuff. I will definitely have it all in the description, and we will say goodbye to our audience. Goodbye, everybody. We will talk to you later.